Welcome to Two Opinionated, a show where two people watch one movie and tell you what they think about it. I'm your host, Simon Ristow.
Well, who the hell else are you talking to? Talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here.
Hi, moms. This is Two Opinionated, the debut show. And for the debut, we watched a movie called A Simple Favor. Released on September 14th, 2018, directed by Paul Feig, written by Jessica Scharzer, and based on the novel by Darcy Bell. Starring Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. It is a comedy, crime, drama about a woman who's seeking to uncover the truth behind the disappearance of her best friend. With me on the show this week, I am joined by...
Ellie.
Hi.
Hi.
Good to be here.
Yes.
So we just got out of the movie, and we're going to start the show by talking a little bit about our general thoughts on it. Not going to spoil anything. That's for later in the show. But first and foremost, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. I thought the acting was actually pretty good. And I'm sure you might feel the same way as far as movies go, but I've seen a lot of movies. I've read a lot of books. And so if something is supposed to be shocking or crazy or something, I feel like I can already anticipate it. I already know what's going to happen in most things. And this one I kind of did in the beginning, and then it just kept going, and so I stopped being able to anticipate anything, which I kind of liked. Something that I looked at with the book that is clearly similar with the movie is that there's an unreliable narrator, and I think that is good for probably people like us that watch a lot of movies and know how movies are structured and how they work, but then also for people that they like this kind of genre but they maybe don't watch stuff all the time.
Yeah, I would say I agree with most of the stuff you said. In the front runner, I would say Anna Kendrick's performance was really what drove this movie. Now, what I would say is what people would get the most out of it. And I think that's because the director, Paul Feig, he's an actor, and this is his directorial debut, I think.
I think he's probably produced other stuff, but he is first and foremost an actor. So that
so his ability to work with actors, I think, it really shows in this movie.
Yeah.
The story, I thought, was better than most of these general audience movies. Mm-hmm. Being based on a book, it helps it actually be coherent and not lose track of itself by the end of the movie, which I think is mostly the problem that I have with big box office type movies, which I don't really know if this is a type of box office movie. Originally, we weren't even supposed to see this movie.
No.
We were going to see The Sisters Brothers, but that's not showing anywhere in Omaha. So yeah, I landed on this one because it was directed by Paul Feig, and I wanted to see how an actor approaches a movie from a director's viewpoint. And his skill set definitely shone through, but I think it was lacking in a lot of the other aspects. Especially, I would say, the cinematography, the music,
aesthetic.
Yeah, it didn't really have any style to it. It was just very flat.
Really?
Yeah.
I disagree. I kind of felt at least within the characters, I don't know that the setting was really as important as the characters were.
I mean, yeah, I would definitely agree that there was a lot of focus on the characters, and that was probably the best decision to make.
Yeah.
I still think that the best movies focus on everything.
Right.
Maybe not equally, but just as stylistically, I guess.
Right. I did also think that they probably thought a lot about clothing. I thought clothing was very important. Yeah,
I mean, Anna Kendrick, I think, definitely stole the show. I wish her performance would have been a little more, I don't know, I don't want to say hyperbolic, but I want to say heightened, just because it would have been really cool so she plays a mom, like a super mom. She's really sort of high strung and kind of anxious about everything.
She's constantly doing something. She's the PTA mom that always volunteers and always bakes and always does everything. And she also doesn't technically have a regular job. So she's a stay-at-home mom that has time to do all these things.
Right. I thought it would have been cool to see that entirely throughout the movie. As sort of her like situation changes, she keeps this like attitude up into like a where it's kind of like creepy to see. I don't know if you feel the same way.
The characters definitely stayed pretty consistent in, like, I didn't necessarily think that the characters went through any arcs because of the situations that they were put in. I think that the characters were kind of set in the beginning, and it's just kind of like these characters are going through the same thing, but they don't really change all that much. Their character doesn't adjust or make any changes, any of them, really.
Yeah.
But I think that might also be part of the unreliable narrator, because it's like, I don't know which one's like actually messed up,
Yeah.
or who's like faking, or who's like absolutely serious.
Right. I want to get into spoiler talk now, but before we do that, I just want to add one last thing. I thought the child actors were completely awful.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I
think Stephanie's kid he didn't talk. He really didn't.
I just wish they weren't in the movie as much. Like, there's no real way to do kids at that age like justice unless you're like doing like a period piece or something. Because like,
right.
This takes place in modern day.
You put an adult in child's clothing and like set them on the ground or something.
Yeah.
Like, you can't
get real surreal with it.
Yeah. These children are adults on their
I
knees.
mean, it's just like there's only one movie I've seen where the child acting was like some of the best acting in the movie, and it's a foreign film about the years before World War I.
Oh, okay.
And like to get those child actors for that movie, the director of that movie auditioned over like 6,000 kids. So it's like he went to extreme lengths to find the best child actors.
And these were probably just like,
and they probably just like picked a couple kids, and like
right.
I would have liked to see a little more, I don't know, care put into the actor, like every single one of the actors, considering that the director is an actor. So like there definitely was in like the main characters, but like the side characters and the children and like the side parents, I thought were just sort of left in the wind.
The side parents I thought were weird.
They were just there to crack jokes. Like they literally had no personality.
It was that, but it was also like, I don't know why they're there to crack jokes when the main characters are cracking jokes the whole time. It doesn't seem necessary for them to be around, besides to be in the beginning when they're like, oh, this is really weird. Like, she doesn't have friends, so, like, why is she acting like this? Or, like, she's full of garbage. Like, but beyond that, it doesn't really, their characters don't really seem necessary. Also, did you think that maybe they were there to fill, like, sort of a diversity quota? Because one of them was supposed to be, like, a gay single dad, and the other one was...
Honestly, that's probably the only reason they were there.
Indian, and the other one was just a white lady, and they all smoked weed.
Yeah.
So, cool, but their characters also sucked.
Right.
So,
like, if you're gonna put diversity...
At least make it good. Make it worthwhile.
Or at least make it important, you know? Okay. So let's jump into spoilers. I want to, before we talk a lot about the story and the plot and like the main characters, I want to talk about some of like the technical aspects that I thought were lacking, and I thought of like ways they could have done it better. First of all, the cinematography, I thought at times like it showed a little bit of style, and I thought that is what you should have latched onto and put throughout the whole movie. Like, early on, there were like some very symmetrical shots of Anna Kendrick's character, not like her vlogs, but like when she's pulling this like food that she made out of her trunk, like the camera's in the trunk, and it's like very stylized, I thought. And then there was another shot around that same time, but I thought it would have been really cool if every single shot that involved Anna Kendrick was symmetrical and maybe stayed that way through the whole movie to sort of make it jarring by the end, or sort of was purposefully like off or changed by
as progressing,
as her character changes.
I never even really noticed that, but now that you point it out, I do. Yeah,
because like after like the first couple scenes, it sort of just went very flat, I thought, and everything was very well lit and very well in focus, and it was sort of like we're not really like watching a movie where we're just watching a conversation or like a series of events.
Right.
And the other part of the movie that I didn't like was the music, and I thought it, like, especially like the music during like transition scenes and like the underbed which I guess is all the music. I thought it only served to tell a joke or to fill dead air that you are just like feel is awkward. But I thought there were moments where like it should have been awkward, but there was just like some music underneath. And then there were other times where it was like no music and the scene went on, like when they're drinking like martinis and stuff.
Right, and
I
there's
thought
nothing.
Yeah, I thought that was great. But there were other times where like, I don't know, maybe they're trying to convey an emotion, and so they have like a stereotypical music bed that helps build the emotion, which I think is overdone and only really hurts the movie. And the in-universe music, like when they're playing the songs in the house,
Right.
that's fine because it's like, use that to set that tone.
Yeah.
But like, don't sort of like pull it over the whole movie if it's not really going to serve an extra purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, talking spoilers. The main character becomes best friends with
Emily,
which is
Blake
Lively's
Lively's
character.
character.
Yeah. And then Emily goes missing, and they find a dead body that looks like Emily, and so they think it's Emily. But then, series of events, they find out she has a twin sister, and that there's this whole plot to get like insurance money for
their kid.
Yeah, so that they can support their kid because they're having money problems the whole time.
Yeah.
And you know, I could have done like all that makes sense, and like that's a story to tell. Like
Yeah.
But the way that the halfway through the movie, like when Anna Kendrick is sort of taking over the whole lot, I thought that would have been a way better movie if she just sort of becomes this like crazy mom who just completely invades and becomes
she is
this
really confident.
Yeah.
In what she's doing, how she's doing everything, what she believes, what she thinks. It's really confident. It's not anxious. It's not like it doesn't really seem like the same character, especially when you kind of learn the things that have happened in that character's past. It seems like she would be a little bit more on edge. She would be a little bit more self-aware, maybe unnecessarily. Mm-hmm. Can we spoil that too?
Yeah, we're in spoiler talk.
Yeah. So Anna Kendrick's character, we find out pretty early on that she had sex with her half brother that she found, or that came to her dad's funeral, and
it comes into question whether or not her son is her half brother's or her husband's.
Right. And so then we find out, or we see in a separate conversation, that her husband has died in a car crash. But then we see
the half brother. The half brother.
With the half brother. But then we see later that the husband was questioning her relationship with the half brother, and so he gets
presumably killed.
Yeah, they get in the car together and presumably killed him, and then they both die. But she's really, beyond those scenes where they're explaining that, she's not really fazed by it.
Right.
And like that would take years of therapy to get over.
Yeah, and like their kid's not very old, so it can't. I mean, it's like,
yeah. Well, and the kid was probably around a similar age. They didn't like get a different kid actor or insinuate that he was another age.
In one of the
happened.
flashbacks, he looks very similar in age. So I wonder if it's only been like a year or something.
Right.
Like it doesn't seem like it's been a long time.
No, which is odd that she is. Which it makes sense if she's like a control freak in that sense, but it doesn't make sense that it's not a continuous thing that she's struggling with.
Yeah. So I feel like the story, along with like her character, sort of like loses focus because I mean, clearly everything that happens is believable.
Yeah.
Like the way the series of events plays out. The only thing that I'm hung up on is like why Stephanie, Anna Kendrick's character, is like doing this whole plot that they have at the end of the movie, where there was a point in the movie where she meets up with Blake Lively at Blake Lively's character's grave.
Yeah.
Because you know she's supposed to be dead, but she meets her there because she's found out that she's alive, and she's basically contacted her through her vlog or whatever.
Yeah.
And they get Blake Lively's side of the story, what she's been doing this whole time, how she sort of killed her twin sister.
Which she lies about. Even though
and,
Stephanie's like, no, you're lying. But then she's like,
and so,
no, I'm not.
So they come up with this plan that it's the husband's fault and that they're going to take him down. And so she goes along with it. I just don't understand why she goes along with it if in the end she doesn't believe that anyway. Unless she has this whole idea in that moment that she's just going to
that everything's
backstab
fine.
the backstab.
Right.
And I don't know, put all this blame and pressure on the husband.
Right.
Even when she's really trying to like take. I feel like there's like a way easier way to do that. It seemed like way roundabout, and like that she wouldn't have come up with that in that moment.
She as in Blake, or she as in Stephanie?
Stephanie.
Or Stephanie and Emily.
The only like scenario that made sense to me as to why that went down that way was that Stephanie makes this plan with Emily to put the blame on Sean. But that Stephanie's only doing that to get Sean to
get Emily's confession.
To help with Stephanie and the police to get Emily's confession.
Right.
But I feel like there was like, I don't know, an easier way to do that. Like I feel like
really
going through Emily to get Sean in prison in the first place was like I don't know, it just seemed like wrong.
Well, and then when they were talking, at first I was a little bit like, oh, maybe they're both just going to go off and do whatever. They're going to keep the house. They're going to get the insurance money or whatever. They're going to have their kids and they're going to live together. And then Sean
sort of Gone Girl style, where like, they're kind of blackmailing each other to stay together.
Right. And so then Sean is out of the picture and he's gone, and it's just it's just Emily and Stephanie. And I thought it was going to go like that. I didn't think that they were going to continuously backstab each other, because then it's also like, there's like low key, there's not sexual tension between Stephanie and Emily, but there's like they kiss at one point, we see, because Stephanie's really sad and she's like, wow. And I wanted them to be lesbians together. Dang it. Just go off with their kids, live in that dang house, and everything's perfect.
Right.
Like, why not?
The way that the movie ended up was like Sean and Stephanie get Emily to confess, and Emily goes to jail, and everybody lives happily ever after, basically. Yeah. But like, why is Stephanie working with Sean if they don't end up together? Because by the end of the movie, like, text comes on the screen, which is stupid and cliche, and only I think works in like real
Legally
stories.
Blonde.
No, I hate it when it's in like fiction movies. Like that should be like for documentaries or something. But like, apparently, like, Stephanie's character isn't even with Sean by the end of the movie. So it's like, why is she helping him? He's a bad guy, too.
Yeah, well, he's a bad guy, and then, but it's, at the same time, it's also, like, they have, neither of their success benefits each other.
Right.
And so, and also, I don't even think technically Stephanie has backstabbed him at all until the end, when she finds out that he has done her dirty. Yeah. But he's been doing her dirty more, like, sooner than she ever did anything. So I don't really know why they're trying to do anything together to get Emily.
I think this whole conversation boils down to, it feels like Stephanie is playing 3D chess, even though she, like, shouldn't be, because that character either doesn't have the, I don't know, skills to do that, or just, like why would she do it that way, sort of a thing. Yeah,
it truly didn't make sense that at the end it was like that she is competent enough to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. You know, just any old mom from the suburbs of Connecticut doesn't know how to do, that's a mommy vlogger, doesn't know how to do this stuff.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense. The character doesn't really make sense, and it's not like she's transforming. You just see.
It's not like there's a reason that she has to transform.
Right. It's not like some sort of revenge thing where she's like, I'm going to avenge my friend and I'm going to learn how to do all this and I have a reason to do this. It's kind of like,
it's kind of half in, half out the whole time.
She's kind of bored. She's a bored person, and she goes and she does this, and then I don't even really fully understand why she cares so much about Emily, besides the fact that she doesn't have any friends and she's bored.
Right. Like that.
It doesn't really make any sense. But I wonder then, too, if that is supposed to be part of the appeal of Blake Lively's character, that she's just so mysterious and nobody knows about her, and like all this mumbo jumbo about how she's like whatever. But and everybody gets sucked into it apparently, but then it's like, but then by the middle of it, we all know that we're all being bamboozled. So why are we still doing this?
Yeah.
Why are we still believing her? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she gets hit by a car, like in Mean
and
Girls, and I was like,
Mean
what?
Girls style. It was like, oh my god, why?
And it was the freaking gay single dad that came by even after the cops came to his house, and they're all smoking
I think that was
weed. I was like, what?
Well, I thought that was like unreliable. narrators.
but
Like
then
I thought like that was like a fake scene just to throw
it
us
could
off.
have been. But then it still is like, what? And
Right, yeah. It was like
then he
I
makes a
don't know.
joke about his Prius being silent but deadly.
that was definitely an ad. Oh my god. Like he literally close up on the Prius and then he gets out of his car and he's like it's like reliable and deadly or something like that. And it was like
silent but deadly.
silent but deadly. Yeah.
And
it was
then
just like
This
wow.
This is an ad for Priuses and Louboutin shoes.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god.
Because that's all Blake Lively
We're
wears.
literally doing this right now in 2018.
Because then I wanted it, because all of the ads, all of the everything for this movie look like campy as hell. Like it's super campy. It looks like 50s Housewife. It looks like they set a really specific type of tone. But then in some of the things that I've seen, it's like they're trying to like twist it a little bit. They're trying to make you think that it's going to turn darker. And it doesn't really.
Yeah,
it's just kind of the situation.
This feels like a movie that could have been, like the story could have been done really well in a very, very stylized way. But it was trying to be general audience and sort of like
campy and fun.
Right. It was
time.
even trying to like sacrifice the campiness for the sake of like appealing to the audience.
Right.
Which is, a bad thing always to do.
I feel like it's a good movie if you just want to like get drunk and not pay attention.
It's different enough from like the normal kind of comedy that comes out,
right,
to where it's interesting and like you'll come out of it thinking like that was fun.
Yeah.
But it's nothing that's like impressive.
No.
Cool. So yeah. That was our review, our opinions on A Simple Favor. It's out in theaters now. If I had to give it an out of 10 rating, I would give it a 5 out of 10. Which, I wouldn't, like, for people who don't know how I rate movies, a 5 out of 10 is average. Like,
yeah,
the majority of movies that come out are 5 out of 10 movies. So that's not, like, a bad thing. It just had good things and bad things about it.
Definitely see it matinee. I wouldn't pay full price for it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, if you're looking for just something fun, I guess, to see with like maybe some friends
with
or
your girlfriends,
if you're gonna on a date,
and like once it comes out on Blu-ray, like you could get it and like you could get drunk and watch it.
You watch it on like Amazon Prime or Netflix.
Yeah,
or something.
like whatever.
Yeah,
so,
A Simple Favor.
It's fun. It's not art.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not art. And if it sounds like something that you're interested in, go check it out because it'll be in theaters for a few more weeks now, probably. Thank you for listening to Too Opinionated. If you enjoyed the show, tune in next time for our review of First Man, directed by Damien Chazelle. Bye.
Bye.